Well, I was not expecting to get an arch rival today, but here we are.
Come on, man!
Now you can hear us. There we go.
There we go. Okay, welcome everybody to Archrivals.
Here we go. Yeah, week 5, episode 6. One fuck up down the road. Here we are. Ricky was saying that he doesn't really have much news, but I've got news. Can you guys hear us now? 555 if you can hear us. I think you can hear because I can see it's unmuted. So, all right, there you can hear us. Okay, cool. So I know it's a game we're going to talk about here later and go over a little bit more, but I found out this is some pretty interesting news that the LA Coliseum has picked up the habit of the the Chargers' old stadium, and they're restricting beers and only selling beer till halftime for the Chargers-Raiders game. They only do it. In San Diego, they started doing that in 2009, and so now they're going to keep on the tradition in San Diego or in LA because those games the Raider fans get too out of control.
Really?
Yeah. So they're gonna make it to where you can only get one beer. Like you can't if you go you can only get one beer at a time. You can't take 2 beers back to the seats with you. So what's this? The guy's gonna just keep coming back. I mean,
well, I don't know about that. I mean, that's one of those things that's been happening around the NFL and actually Major League Baseball, because I've seen it at Citi Field with the Mets that they only if you have 2 hands, you're only allowed to carry 2 beers, and then there's nothing else. They don't give you a drink tray or anything. You just got to walk back with those 2. You drop those 2. You go back, you get another 2. There is the chain link effect about that, so I can kind of understand that. Beer late in games sometimes, though, is not exactly the greatest thing. I can't tell you.
It's the best thing.
As of late, now, mind you, this is with a lot of the playoff games with Major League Baseball, and see even some of these football games that I've been watching recently, the fights in the stands in the fourth quarter are not amusing.
That's true.
Especially if you're fans of the same team and you're beating the crap out of each other. I think it's a little obscene, but maybe the alcohol is the big influence out of it all.
Well, alcohol definitely lowers your inhibitions, but I also read a study, because I used to say man, I can't drink vodka. I've been drinking vodka for the past 2 weeks. I used to man, it makes me really angry. No, I was just in a really bad time in my life when I was drinking vodka and alcohol. So they say different types of alcohol do not affect your, you can either be a happy drunk. If you're an asshole, you're going to be an angry drunk. If you're a normally happy dude, you're going to be a happy drunk. So, I used to think oh man, I can't drink vodka, it just makes me mad. No, that one time I got really drunk on vodka, I was in a bad mood and I was an asshole. So,
Yeah, but those things happen.
So that's where I think, I guess, those people that get into fights with each other at the games, they're just assholes. But I can understand. I mean, I think it's a little absurd because I like to drink beer. But I can understand. It's a family event, man. I understand everybody's there to have fun, drink a couple beers and stuff. But at the end of the day, there's kids running around, and you don't want kids to see grown adults get into fights and shit. So that's a bad example for the children.
Well, I can actually tell you a game that I went to a few years ago. It was actually Jets and Pats at MetLife. MetLife was only in existence its second year, I believe. And there was a lot of alcohol consumption at the game. And we're getting ready to leave the game, and we're walking down the ramps. And it just so happens that a bunch of inebriated motherfuckers decided to get into a fight. A guy actually laid out a Patriots fan who was a female, which obviously we know that's kind of along a lot of rules that are not supposed to be even touched when it comes to football, and it caused a huge fight. One of the guys
only the players can beat girls.
One of the guys actually got thrown off the side of the ramp.
Yeah. Oh no! Did he die? I think I heard about that. Oh, okay.
He didn't die, but it was in the news all over the place throughout the NFL, and the girl ended up with like a huge black eye, broken orbital bone, and like other facial injuries. And the guy got locked up. He's actually still in the pen as we speak.
Yeah, like 2 years ago in Baltimore. It was Raiders Ravens, and some drunk Raiders fans and a drunk Ravens fan got into it, and one dude popped him. That guy his head hit the ground. He died, and that guy is in jail for manslaughter now. So maybe it is a good thing, especially at a game like this. But anyways, that's all the news I really had for the week that I thought was pretty interesting. How about yourself?
We do have some game news.
Game news.
Believe it or not.
Game news.
And it's obviously the first thing we're going to talk about tonight because it was the first game on the schedule for the week. 500 career touchdowns for Tom Brady.
You need a minute?
Unreal. No, I kind of got over
yourself.
I got over it a little bit of last night, and there was a little bit of extra news to go along with that. With the record, 71 different receivers he's thrown a touchdown pass to. And I got to tell you, last night there were some issues in the game. This is going to be an ongoing topic throughout the entire NFL season. And we touch on this all the time. The final score in that Pats game was 38-24. Pats had a big lead at a half. In the second quarter, however, there was a penalty that was called. And you know what? I'll say it as a football fan, not as a Pats fan. If you're going to get tippy-tap with these fouls, if a guy just tapped the quarterback's helmet, then there's something wrong. Because that was a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty for a guy waving in Brady's face and hits him in the helmet. Now, earlier in the game, Luck was sacked by two people where both of them were on top of Luck. They got him to the ground, all their weight, probably about 500-plus pounds, falls on Andrew Luck. He gets up, shakes it off, nothing, extreme or whatever, no injury, and there was no roughing the passer penalty. So now, again, this is only the Thursday night game. How many games there are for the rest of the weekend? I think there's 14 or 15 of them where we're going to be sitting there watching all of these quarterback sacks, hits, etc. How really bad are these penalties getting?
Bad. I mean, they call one or two virtually every game. So, I mean, I don't know really what. I don't know what we're gonna do. There's nothing we can do about it. They're gonna just keep calling it, but it's just taken away from the game. It really is. I don't get. I mean, I get you can't you're not supposed to go in there being an asshole, but you are hired to do a job, and that your job is to tackle the quarterback. Not play kissy face with him, and you're supposed to knock the guy on the ground and stop the play. That, like we talked about it on Thursday. or sorry, on Tuesday. That was the one thing I saw. I mean, because everybody knows Von Miller is a beast. He is a force to be reckoned with on the Denver Broncos defense. He played scared because he didn't want to get a penalty. I think that in itself affected that game.
Oh, definitely.
I think had they been, had the rules been the way they were last year, Broncos won that game.
Well, I'm saying this as a general football fan, and obviously, I'm a Patriots fan, and I was happy that they won. I'm happy that there were records set or whatever. But at this point right now, again, because there was a lot of controversy, everybody on Facebook was talking about it, a lot of the people from the NFL groups that I'm in, and hopefully a bunch of them will tune in tonight and be able to catch some of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That this was, again, another issue that came across where they're going to say, well, why didn't the Patriots get penalized for pretty much housing Andrew Luck? And then Brady gets tapped on the head, and the defender gets a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. Now, the abridged rule,
a little bitch.
Well, but the abridged rule was in the beginning, before they had even fixed to where it is now, that anything unevaded to the head of the quarterback, no matter who it was, and you see it all year long, that's automatically a roughing the passer penalty.
Yeah.
So if you're going to hit somebody in the head, that's obviously the CTE issue that everybody talks about. Yeah. Then I could understand anything around the head area as a penalty. Fine. But at the same time, it still has to be fixed and put into the rule where
a little tap on the head is not a penalty, roughing the passer.
Exactly. Even if it was accidental, you're trying to block the guy's vision, and as you're doing it, obviously, you, like you said once before, you can't be Plastic Man and twist yourself in midair to get yourself out of that situation. So
yeah. I mean, it's physics. It's like these dudes don't have jetpacks strapped to their backs. It's a matter of physics. I mean, isn't it like Newton's law?
Yeah.
An object in motion is going to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by another force. Well, just so happens the quarterback happens to be the other force. He's right there. This guy just can't. So he's not Peter Pan. They can't fly. So, I think it's just that's ridiculous. I also thought that a little bit with the roughing the kicker. Like, he's going for it, man. He's trying, but there's 200 some pounds. But I guess you can call it on the kicker because he's not wearing full pads.
Well, the other thing about last night was, and it was one of the first times that players of this magnitude have been in the NFL so long. Both teams had a player, obviously Tom Brady and Adam Vinatieri. Both were on the Patriots at the beginning, and then Vinatieri left and went to Indy. But it was the first time ever that two teams both had a player that had 226 victories. That was also another NFL record that happened last night as well.
Wow.
There was another little tidbit. Like, I was sitting there, I'm trying to figure out. I was like, Adam Vinatieri is going to be 46 years old.
He's still playing?
And he's still playing. He's been in the NFL for God's age, and he's still kicking the ball, and he kicks the ball effectively still. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
And it was surprising in the first quarter that he did miss a field goal last night. But on the other hand, though, to know the fact that you have players that are still around that long in the NFL and are very effective, it says a lot for the game that they've obviously physically trained well enough to be able to play this long and get that longevity thing going. So kudos to both of them for,
How old is Brady?
Brady's 41.
Jesus Christ! I didn't realize he was that old. I mean, that's for a football player. When did Favre resign? When he was or he retired?
He was in his early 40s as well.
Yeah, like 42, 43.
So
made a good run.
But all in all, it was a good game. Pats got a little lazy at the end and still pulled it out with two late scores. So They actually did cover the spread,
Well,
I might
yeah.
add. So that was one of the things, because the game was at 10, and the score for the game was 38-24, so they cleared it by 4. So anybody that put their money on the Pats covered last night.
Well, hell yeah. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't put their money on the Pats? Indianapolis fans. That's probably who.
Yeah, because they want to make money instead of losing it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start off with the schedule.
All right, let's do that.
All right, I have, for the first listing on NFL.com, Titans and Bills. Both teams are total polar opposites. Tennessee's 3-1, Buffalo 1-3. They are playing in Buffalo. The league rankings don't even tell the story in this, although the only thing I really can say is the Tennessee Titans are 26th in passing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're pretty much decently overall in between. Under-over for the game is 39.5, -3, Tennessee giving Buffalo.
I'm going with the Titans on this one because, I mean, the Bills are probably, if you want to look at it on paper, the Bills are probably one of the worst teams in the NFL, next to the Cardinals.
This is very true, and I think they are still probably playing for that draft pick.
Yeah.
I actually did somehow lose my pen. I don't know why that went. Okay. So I got to tell you that this is another point that a lot of people don't know, and if they're really up on their football, there is an expatriate as a head coach out in Tennessee. Mike Vrabel,
Yeah.
the former Patriots linebacker, has brought a new attitude to that team, and I got to tell you, they have really been amping it up. They had that big win in overtime last week against the Super Bowl champ Philly Eagles. This, again, the line is not very big. It's only 3.5. I'm going to as well go with Tennessee. And I got to tell you, if Buffalo somehow surprises me a little bit this weekend, I might change my mind on them in the future. However, I don't see that team really going anywhere. They didn't have really an experienced quarterback to start that season. So basically the two rookies, though, the backup and the rookie, are running that show, and I just don't see that happening for very much for them anymore.
I don't either. And honestly, I mean, aside from that, you know, that miracle that happened in Minnesota, I mean, I don't see them doing. I see them going for draft picks this year. I don't see it unless they, you know, they're 1-3. I think, you know, Tennessee's 3-1. They're exact. They're opposites. Tennessee's definitely going to take. I mean, they're now after this week they'll be 1-4. I mean, they don't have a really good. There's no way they can salvage the season because they've got too much coming up ahead too. That there's no way to now we're going for draft picks next year, try to rebuild.
Okay, but here is one little tidbit for anybody who's betting on NFL games, and I know that betting thing has changed throughout the United States. If you go to put your money, be very, very careful because the first 4 games this year, the Titans have not covered points. They have not won any games by more than 3 points. So just be leery on the whole betting line. 4 points is still a large thing. I have a score prediction, actually, of 21-16 Tennessee, right, which would cover, but we'll see.
All right. What do we got next?
This is going to be one of those catch me games. Now, this is a lot of people asked me about this game at the bowling alley on Wednesday, and it's Falcons-Steelers in Pittsburgh. Falcons 1-3, Steelers 1-2-1. Again, that huge tie with the Cleveland Browns at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh has won their last 3 meetings, including a meeting on August 20th of last year in preseason. I don't know how a preseason matchup really counts. Both defenses are garbage.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. They
They're
both
all,
have absolute garbage defenses, but I mean, honestly, they're pretty close to each other in rankings, man. Both teams with passing, and I mean, the Falcons got a little bit better on the rush, so
well,
I say
again,
go ahead. Yeah,
it's that whole thing with Le'Veon Bell not going to be back until week 7.
yeah,
That is the huge key. Everybody keys in on the running game that they have now. However, it's
once
not
Le'Veon Bell
Le'Veon Bell.
comes, yeah, once
It's not.
he starts playing, then we got a different story there. Uh if Falcons can capitalize on the rush and the with on Steelers' terrible defense, man, I don't know, man. That's a close one. That is a close. I'm gonna go Falcons because oh man, I don't know.
I got to tell you, at this
Steelers are at
point,
home though.
the Steelers are at home. However, again, this is the big key to the offensive thing. James Conner, who's the guy who's been replacing Le'Veon Bell, he's only had 97 yards in the last 3 games after having that big game week. Game 1, I should say. And the Falcons are coming off of 3 games of scoring 30+. With both defenses being garbage, I expect that to be a shootout anyway.
Yeah, I think it will be a shootout. I'm going to go Falcons on this, strictly because they just have a better running game, and they can. I mean, if they going up against that type of a defense, that crappy of a defense, they can move the ball. If they can move the ball, get some easy first downs on the on the field, then I think they can do it. Now, I mean, as opposed to the Steelers, Roethlisberger's going to have to come. I mean, he's going to have to be on point the whole game, which I don't think that I don't think that's impossible. He's going to have plenty of time. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know if I want to go on the Falcons.
Well, from my understanding, also from last week's game, that I believe Pittsburgh did have some injuries, so I'm not exactly sure to what extent those are going to be at.
Hayward Bay is doubtful to play. That's big.
Well, that only just makes more pressure on Schuster and Brown to pick up the receiving load. That's the main part there.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go Atlanta as well. I honestly think at some point Atlanta is going to be. They've obviously fixed the red zone issue, and you got to figure at some point that offense is going to explode even more than what it normally does. But their defense is hurt, and they really need to pick it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in the bargain basement of that South Division, I think.
Agreed. So we're split so far.
No, we both got the same teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're even today on this one. So we're both going on Falcons and we're going on the Titans. Next up, we've got Broncos and Jets. Do we have to talk about this game very much?
Okay, I'm just going to give you the little bit of insights that I had on this game, and then we'll just move on. Because in my insights, there's a very, very large picture of Von Miller and Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I got to say, is those two guys really did show me a ton Monday night. They are a defensive duo to not be messed with.
They're insane, man. And that's like, they show, like I mentioned before, they've showed those pictures of, or that video of Von Miller when he found out that they drafted Chubb, and he started, I think he was at a bowling alley. He started losing his mind because he had another pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, man, I have to say, other than the fact, like we talked about, that Von Miller played a little scared last week because the roughing the quarterback. Those two, they didn't really do. I mean, they showed Patrick Mahomes what's up. Like, he didn't play like as stellar of a guy as everybody talks about to be. He played well, very good game. But they did help. They shut him down quite a bit. I think he did. He didn't play as good as he's done in the last few games because he had those two in his face the entire time.
Well, you also got to remember the other thing is that one big thing that, again, I put this on a lot of teams because they're capable of doing it. Defensive pressure on that quarterback. You cannot make him stay in the pocket. Obviously, Mahomes running around on outside of the pocket benefits him to some point because he gets receivers open. But they pressed him
and does crazy stuff.
But Denver pressed him all night Monday night. That's what made that game really good. Defense was great on Denver's side of the ball. Some keynotes. Darno has not had a passer rating closer to the week that he had in week 1. And the point spread on this game is only 1 point.
Yeah. And then,
So,
I don't see. It's definitely not going to be on the offense. This game is going to be one. If Denver wins this game, they're going to win by it's going to be defensively. They're going to shut down the Jets. I think they're going to do it. I'm going Denver on this. I don't see the Jets doing really anything. Keenum, God, that guy's terrible. But
it just makes you wonder how he was able to do everything with those weapons up in Minnesota, and now he gets to Denver and he just can't do anything.
Agreed. And he gets to Denver and it's just like, well, meh.
The only thing I will say about Keenum is that he's not a big turnover machine. 1, 2, he handles the ball a lot better than people do think. Because instead of getting a sack, he'll throw the ball away. So you're not at that point losing any yardage. That's the great thing about Keenum.
Yeah.
The other problem is that you got guys that are up in Denver that are not 100%. I don't think he has enough weapons as everybody thinks he does. So I'm going with Denver
his
as
team's
well.
Pretty, yeah. I think so too. But I'm putting most of the majority of the weight. I'm putting the majority of the weight on the defense, on Bradley Chubb and Von Miller.
All righty. So now we have. This is what I'm going to go as my upset pick of the week.
Oh, I think you're going to lean the same way I am. We haven't split yet.
No, we haven't. But this one here, the news and notes that I have prepped for this will make everything a lot more interesting.
All right.
Jacksonville and Kansas City is the next game up on the list. Now, obviously, we just got done talking about the Chiefs. A big come-from-behind victory for them Monday night. This is going to be a totally different animal.
Like it.
This is going to be a totally different animal for Chiefs fans. Jacksonville has the most complete defense in the NFL, hands down. The number 1 scoring defense versus the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. One keynote for Jacksonville, Fournette, is already listed out for this week. He's not playing. I really do see a heavy, heavy dose of TJ Yeldon this week. Okay. A heavy dose. For me to look at this, and a lot of experts have split on this game.
Yeah, all of the stuff I've listened to and read today, like everybody's kind of like it's going to be a good game. But everybody's been split down the board.
But my keys to this, and I used to do this when I was younger, and I've learned my lesson. Jalen Ramsey needs to shut his mouth. Homeboy talks too much shit. Somebody should just attach a toilet paper roll to the side of his head and just keep wiping his mouth off, because he's going to get burned one of these days. And this is probably one of those matchups I do see him getting burned like 2 or 3 times.
So who do you got? I want to hear who you have.
I am going upset special Jacksonville. In a close one by a field goal.
I'm going to go that way too. I mean, granted, the Chiefs got everything going for them. And now, I mean, they've got, Watkins is out. He hasn't really been doing terrible a lot for him. I mean, it's been mainly Kelsey and Hill and Kareem Hunt. So that being said, they've got Eric Berry's out. D Ford's questionable. That means that's two of their main defensive players. So they're even more hurt. Their defense is even more hurt. Going against one of the number one offenses in the NFL, I don't see the Chiefs pulling this one out. Even with Arrowhead having the home field advantage at Arrowhead, I don't see it happening. I say the Chiefs, both teams are 4-1 after this game. So I'm going with Jacksonville too.
Another keynote. Now remember, a few weeks ago, Jacksonville played Tennessee, and it was a field goal game. There was only 15 points scored in that entire game. And Jacksonville's defense has only surrendered 21 points in the last 2 weeks. Yeah. So, with only 3 points being pretty much handed out from Kansas City to Jacksonville, you still got to try to lay your money on that Jacksonville defense. That defense is nuts. They fly around with their hair on fire, and they'll hit you from everywhere. If that front four doesn't get you, that middle linebacking core, whew, crazy.
So okay. We're still on the same page here. What do we got next? We've got the Packers and the Lions.
This one here, I got to tell you, and I looked at the head-to-head. Now, mind you, these two teams play each other twice every year. But they also had a playoff game against each other at one point. January of 2017, Packers won that playoff game. However, Detroit won the 2 regular season games, and not by a small margin.
Oh no, they stomped them.
There was some
like
butt raping in this.
15-point leads, right?
One was a 24-point win, and one was a 13-point win. Line for this game is a pick'em.
Ooh.
You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick the winner of this game. Under-over is 51. This is going to be a doozy. I probably will jump the pick and turn around and tell you I'm going with Green Bay.
We're going to split here. I'm going Detroit. I got faith in you, Detroit. I got faith in you. And they're at Ford Field. Motor City takes it.
The only thing I have to say about this game is that the last few weeks, he's been the same guy he normally is all year round. Aaron Rodgers has been still pretty decently solid.
He has been. How'd you have to say that? I was pretty confident.
But at the same time, though, you're looking at a lot of key injuries on Detroit's defense, and the only thing you got to hope for is that rushing offense from Detroit. If the Detroit offense starts running well, or they start to pick up some steam, then Detroit's going to be good. Game prediction for this one, I had a few game predictions for the week. Green Bay 30, Detroit 23. You could probably bank that one. This was a lot of analysis throughout the few days with all of the injuries and everything. So if it comes close to a 7-point Packers win, then you guys probably made some money. Yeah. That's all I can say. Baltimore and
I'm gonna stay with Detroit on that one. I'm staying with Detroit. D-Town, Motown, whatever you want to call them. What do we got? Baltimore
and Cleveland. Now, the last 3 meetings, obviously, this is another divisional matchup.
Yeah.
Baltimore has trounced them. But this is not the old step-on Cleveland Browns anymore.
This isn't a gimme of the year, I'll tell you that.
Believe it or not, with 3 different bounces of a ball and maybe some penalties that went in the wrong direction, you could possibly say the Browns could possibly be 3-0 at this point. 4-0 at this point. Think of it that way.
Okay, hold on. Have another drink. Let's settle down for a second. Let's not get too hasty.
So I have to wait. But think of it this way. Their first week, they tie with Pittsburgh. Okay?
That is true.
That was a game. Cleveland came back on Pittsburgh. If they don't miss a field goal in overtime, they win that game. They beat the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football outright. Done. The birth of Baker Mayfield. It was there. Last week's game as well. One penalty and a first down they make. They run the ball out. Oakland doesn't have a shot to tie that game and go into overtime and win it.
Oh, but
that's
they would have done it anyways because they're badass. They're amazing.
But think of it this way: the possibilities, the Cleveland Browns, instead of being 1-2-1, could possibly be 3-1 or 4-0. This is not a rollover game for anybody.
Yeah. Oh man.
This is one of those games, and this one here, Vegas odds, has Baltimore laying an extra point.
This is a rivalry game, though, isn't it?
It is a rivalry game, but also remember one thing, that it's also a division game.
Yeah.
So there is a lot at stake for this game at 1:00 on Sunday. And again, I have to say it, I'll probably just roll over and die. This may be another upset special. Cleveland takes it to frickin' Baltimore. It's really, really close.
Man. I think there is some deep-seated hatred between the two of them. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns. I think I'm gonna go with the Browns on this. No, man, yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't know, man. No. Flacco's been playing amazing, and so I think I'm gonna go with the Ravens because Flacco has been doing a pretty bang up job over there. So I think but it's gonna be close. I don't think that. I mean, granted that they got Baker Mayfield, I don't think that it's gonna be, just a stomp on Cleveland deal. But I think that I want to say that the Ravens are going to win at least by a touchdown.
Well, the score predictions that I've read were all the games that the predictions were under both teams scoring 25 points. Meaning like 23-17, 21-14.
Yeah.
I gotta tell, I'm leaning in probably the wrong direction on this one, but.
Well, if you're gonna put money on it, this would be the game to put money on because if you're right, you're gonna make some dough.
I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. I'm starting to become a believer in that team, and again, now we've only seen Baker Mayfield for a game and a half.
Yeah.
And obviously, at this point now, he's got a lot more game planning. Cleveland has been really good at holding off defenders, off their quarterbacks. And the other problems that I've seen is Baltimore doesn't fare well against mobile quarterbacks. So that may be a bonus. But I am going to reach out with the Cleveland Browns this weekend. Normally in the past, I would never even touch the Cleveland Browns because they've been so terrible. But reaching out with the Cleveland Browns.
All right, man. You're reaching out. I'm going to keep it with the Ravens. And up next, we have a game that no one needs to. We get about the 2-minute game we can spend about 2 minutes on. I'm going to go with the Panthers because it's the New York Giants versus the Carolina Panthers. I'm saying Panthers.
I'm pretty much going to go with the Panthers at the same thing. The only thing is that the Panthers are coming off of a bye week.
That's but they're they're rested up. They ate their Wheaties. Probably may have worked some bugs out of their system. But Cam Newton, I don't see him losing at home against the Giants. The G-Men. I don't
Well,
see it
here's the
happening.
thing: Carolina's laying 7,
Yeah.
and the under/over is 44. So this is not really supposed to be one of those high-scoring games. Uh, Predictions for this game, I've seen them. They're around the same thing, like 40, 45 points. I really don't know if the Giants can dominate that defense. For them to even go into Carolina and be relevant at this point, not exactly sure. Again, the Giants' offensive line is like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Eli Manning's afraid that he's going to have to change his diaper every time he has to come off the field.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I think he's already started picking out retirement homes, which retirement community he wants to go live in, because I don't see, unless they have a freak, unless the Giants pull it off and win this game and just start kicking ass, I don't see them keeping Eli any longer after this
well,
season.
I also heard through the grapevine that Eli is trying to figure out which diaper company he's going to be signing up with, Huggies or Pampers.
Well, which is the one that's got I mean, I think I heard Huggies are more.
I think Pampers.
They're more absorbent, but I've
Yeah, I
also
think so.
seen those things on Facebook where like the kids get the real bad diaper rash, and Eli, he's a Manning, he's not going to want that, so he's going to go. I mean, he's going to go with the Pampers, I believe. Maybe he's a cloth diaper baby. He seems a little extra like that.
Well, we'd have to ask Peyton on that because he always has that helmet rash, that indentation from the helmet.
That's
So
just
maybe
because
Peyton,
the guy's a mutant. He didn't realize where you're supposed to inject the steroids, and he put them in his forehead, and that's what bulked up.
but definitely, yeah, we're not even touching a lot of stats on that one. It's obviously unanimous. We're looking both at the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers takes it.
Final 1 o'clock game on the schedule. This is going to get down to the nitty gritty because there's 4 o'clock games again this week. Miami and Cincinnati. Now, this is a tale of two different teams. Miami's league rankings are nothing higher than 26th overall in the NFL. Now, defense, both teams apparently don't know how to play that. But Cincinnati's offense is surprisingly good, and their run game is halfway decent. The spread for this game is a lovely number. Whatever you guys do, do not pick the under. It's under over 50, and Cincinnati laying 5.5 to the Miami Dolphins.
I'm going Cincinnati.
Still not a believer in those squish the fish guys?
No, dude, not since Ace Ventura kicked the shit out of all of them.
That's a great way to put it.
I haven't been a Dolphins fan since Ray Finkel.
Oh man, that. Let's not even go there. All right, so a lot of experts actually went with both me and Alex on Cincinnati on this one. The Dolphins are not ready. They've surrendered 67 points in the last 2 games. One game where they gave up a boatload of points to the Patriots last week. I think that defense is going to start to fall apart a little bit. The key thing to this one is, and this is for the Miami side, if Tannehill can really get off to a good start, not get a lot of defensive pressure, his receivers get open, that's the only thing I really believe that's going to give Miami a chance in this game. But Cincinnati has been very surprising. That offense is just one of those ones.
Dalton's been lighting it up, man. I mean, he's been lighting it up. Mixon's been going hard, and Boyd's been doing a fantastic job. So, yeah, man, Bengals all the way.
Yeah, we're pretty much, except with the exception for like 2 or 3 games, we're pretty much both on the same boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's the 4 o'clock slate.
The 4 o'clock slate.
Yes, the 4 o'clock slate. This is where I'm usually trying to figure out what type of stuff I'm going to have for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders Chargers. in San Diego. Obviously, we heard about the whole alcohol issue earlier.
Yeah. Heard about that alcohol issue earlier. There's a lot going on in this game, actually, that man, so I'm going to say it right off the bat. I'm going Raiders, but here's why. Every time we play the Chargers home stadium, I mean, first off, we're playing in L.A. All right? L.A., granted. For the last 3 years, the Chargers have been playing the audio bites from a Raiders home game during their practices before the week before they play the Raiders, just because our fans are going to outnumber their fans. They do it every year. So late this week, they have been piping in crowd noise into the practice field, so these guys don't get it kind of eases their pain. They know what they're going to deal with. They don't know what they're going to deal with, because it doesn't matter how loud you put it on a speaker, it's going to be louder in the stadium. I consider it a Raiders home game, and really, the Chargers, I mean, unless Rivers pops off, which he's been known to do, I don't see us losing that game, especially with Joey Bosa. He's out. He's a huge asset to their defense. So, but we got people out too. We got Donald Penn's on IR. He's one of our best offensive tackles, and Kalichi Osemele is out too, or he's questionable to return.
Well, here's a little tidbit. There's only one person that has a higher passer rating in the NFL than Phillip Rivers, and that just so happens to be Mr. Mahomes.
Oh, Mr. Mahomes, really?
Yes. So that's pretty much there, and Rivers is obviously we kind of try to retread some of the recap from last week when we make these picks. Phillip Rivers is not Baker Mayfield.
No.
So we look at that. Bolts have won 2 out of the last 3 meetings. In fact, sweeping the meetings last year. So that, again, sometimes you look at those numbers from the past and you try to revamp them to now. I'm going to actually swing the other side of the fence for this one, and I'm going to look at the fucking LA Chargers on this one. I have a feeling that they're just a little bit more stable right now. Yes, that pass offense is hit and miss. I love Melvin Gordon as a running back. I actually drafted him in a fantasy about the last 2 years, and Mr. Gordon actually paid off some dividends for me. So,
I don't think it's going to be. It's definitely not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a pretty. I mean, you've got to look at the rivalry aspect of it. We seem to do. There are a lot of different factors on this game. But,
by the way, I'm watching the news and notes from the people in the chat, and our producer says he has the Chargers winning by 14.
Who's that?
Derek.
Dude, Derek, he can just go fuck off.
By the way, I believe the Bears are off this week, so we don't have to worry about doing a review for their game.
No, I thought they played this week.
No, Chicago and Tampa have the week off.
Oh, okay.
And it's not because we gave them the week off. It's just that they were listed in the bye week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well.
Now, this is a trash bag game. Now, we normally, in trash bag games, try not to delve into the details of these games. This might be just what we call a quick pick. Both teams have 1 win combined. That would be the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. The spread for this game, Vegas didn't want to give it to me. -5 for the Cardinals. The Cardinals are getting 5, and the under/over is 41.
49ers.
Believe it or not, as crappy as Arizona has been, I'm actually going to lay some wood on the Cardinals.
Gross.
who have won the last 3 meetings against the 49ers. So maybe the Arizona Cardinals will get their first win this weekend.
We'll
Next.
see. We'll see.
This is one of those games again. Like I said, it's a trash bag game.
Yeah, it is
One of those
a
pick-ems.
garbage game. All right, next up we got a little bit better game.
This is probably like my third, well, like one of the third on the list for the games of the week. Vikings Eagles. Both teams are in a tailspin. This game is being played in Philly. Same way it was last year, I believe. That it was no. Philly played in Minnesota for the playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Philly's won 2 out of the last 3. However, they've not been close games. They've been kind of blowout games. Philly in the playoff game won by 31. Then they played the year before that. It was 11-point game, and Minnesota exploded the year before. These two teams in themselves, obviously, Philly lost to Tennessee last week. Minnesota couldn't get out of their own way and lost to the 1-3 Buffalo Bills earlier this season.
In a blowout game.
Yeah, in a blowout where they were expected to really just take off and go crazy. Now, the Vikings are coming off of that Rams game from Thursday night from last week. By the way, I'm going to mention that my Thursday night picks, I am 5-0 for Thursday night football this year. So anybody who wants the Thursday night pick, go my way.
Don't pick it this week because he's got to lose one.
This is one of those games where you kind of just sit there and you actually flip a coin on this one. Vegas has this game as a defensive game, 44.5 under over, and Philly laying 3 to the Vikings. In this whole thing, I still feel like Philly is still dealing with that Super Bowl hangover.
I think so too.
I think the cockiness got to them to the point where, oh yeah, we have the Super Bowl trophy. Big part of this, Wentz has only been playing, this is, I believe, his 3rd game back, and he really hasn't found his groove yet. So Minnesota may have a slight advantage on this, although Minnesota's defense has not been great.
No. Yeah. I'm going to go with Minnesota as well. I think they pull this one out. They just, I mean, they haven't been playing the best in the world, but I think they take. I agree. I think the Eagles are, they're dealing. You know, they're living in last year, and you know it's time to wake up. It's a new season. Vikings take it.
I'm actually going to say, I ran with them last week. I was pretty upset with Philly not being able to put away Tennessee. They're playing at home. They're not on the road. They're going to have the hometown fans behind them. Injuries wise, I wasn't sure on what the listing was because that didn't want to load for me. I still have to feel that maybe at one point Carson Wentz is going to find something in this Minnesota Vikings defense. Their pressure has not been great. Philly still has that awesome front 7. Minnesota's offensive line has not been perfect as of late, especially that we'll rewind even a little bit more further back to that Buffalo game. They got to the quarterback a lot. They went past that. They went past that offensive line like no tomorrow. So, yeah, Cousins up in Minnesota. That's all fine and great. He's mobile, but I don't think he's what everybody's billing him out to be. I'm going to go with Philly.
All right. We're split on that one. Okay, up next. This is a pretty easy, in my opinion, this is a pretty easy decision. Rams Seahawks.
4-0 versus 2-2.
Rams.
This is
I'm gonna say Rams are 5-0 at the after Sunday.
I still have a lot of questions about the Rams. I really do. Now, I look at these numbers for their league rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, amazing.
Yeah.
Not gonna. You really are not enough saying enough words over that whole deal. However, I find the Rams defense suspect. They have given up a lot of points.
Yeah.
Through 4 games, they've given up almost 100 points, I believe. They are great on the takeaway margin. Seattle's defense is 7th overall, but now you lost another key player who threw up the bird as he was coming off the field the other night.
Yeah.
I
feel bad about that though. Like, I mean, it's like you see how, like, you know, like the whole Legion of Boom, like how they were so close knit to, and then, you know, a few years later, now it's like, oh yeah, broke my leg. Fuck you guys, I'm out.
Yeah, it becomes a free agent end of the end of the year, and he's just gonna make money at that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Rams. At some point, Seattle's offense is really going to have to really just re-innovate themselves. Russell Wilson doesn't have as much protection as he used to do, but then again, he likes running around like a chicken without a head. What was the spread on this? The spread on this one was the Rams laying 7.5. So you figure they're laying 8, and the under/over was 49. I think the Rams will score 49 by themselves, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Only downfall to this is the game is in Seattle, which means I'll just turn the volume off and watch the pictures as they run by, because I probably won't be able to hear the announcers. And if Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are doing this game on Sunday, then I'll just definitely turn the volume off.
Shoot me.
Because they killed me. They killed me last night watching the Pats game. And, there was a new term in football, by the way, now that we brought up Troy Aikman's name. This happened in the second quarter last night of the Pats game. Troy Aikman, quote, he catched it.
He catched it.
He catched it real good. End quote. That happened in the second quarter.
He played for Texas. For Dallas. Leave him alone.
Please, he catched it.
Yeah.
If a 9-year-old was watching this game and says, that's not the right way to say it, well, then you go tell Troy Aikman how to talk English, because
go tell him how to speak English.
Because it was, I rolled out of my chair and I'm like, he catched it? Where did that come from? This is the things that I'm going to start pulling up on the shows every week. Is the new terminology.
The new terminology, especially Troy Aikman's new words.
Yes. His new profound English language is out there now.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a game. This is the Sunday night game.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys and Texans.
Yeah.
Texans got their first win because Frank Reich doesn't know how to run a football team.
That's true.
And the Dallas Cowboys / Cowgirls are 2-2 coming into this game. Texans have won the last 2 regular season meetings. Both teams, numbers-wise, Texans are better on a lot, except for the 5th-ranked Dallas defense.
Very true.
Now, let me see. I had some more notes for this.
But Dak Prescott is just doing playing like absolute garbage this year.
Well, one of the keys to this game is going to be the Texans' defense.
Yeah.
If they can somehow contain or shut down
Elliott,
Texans are winning this game.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, that, you know, the Cowboys have 0 passing. I mean, what they had Dez Bryant, and they got rid of him for this rookie who really hasn't done anything this year. And they thought, you know, they're just like, oh, we're gonna go with this guy. Later, Dez. And then, yeah. So, I mean, they really don't have anybody they can throw to. And Prescott just hasn't been. It shows in his numbers. I mean, look at his receiving yards. 753 into week 5.
Not good.
4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's 50-50 on this shit. Like it's all been Ezekiel Elliott. It's been a ground game. This Beasley guy that they put all their faith in, he's only got 185 yards. I mean, unless their defense wins the game for them, Houston hasn't. And that's who I'm going to go for.
Well, my other thing with this game here is, and I'm getting a little annoyed when they give the weather reports for these games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I wrong by saying that the stadium that the Texans play in is a dome?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they play in a dome. And they give the weather report for 8:20 Sunday night as partially cloudy, low of 76 degrees. You play indoors. It's a freaking controlled environment. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, it can be an open air. It's a dome, but it's retractable.
More likely than anything, the dome was going to be closed.
Oh, I'm sure if there's a little bit of rain, of course it's going to be closed.
It's not if it's not Dallas where they have that little cutout hole in the middle. Even when they have that 93,000-foot scoreboard there. I'm going to go with the Texans. I feel the Texans defense has stepped it up. Offensively, they're just not the juggernaut yet. They have the 5th ranked offense, but they just don't put up enough points, which is ultimately scary. That's a big thing, but I'm going to go Texans as well.
All righty. So then that brings us to. Oh, well, I was going to have it. I thought I had it queued up, but I didn't, so I just ruined all of it.
The
Monday
Washington
Night Football.
Oh, there you go.
Redskins versus the Saints.
Now,
3-1 versus a 2-1 team.
This game here, because Washington had the bye
Had the
week
bye last week, yeah.
All right. Now, this game has potential for more history. Drew Brees needs 214 yards
Yeah.
to surpass the number 1 overall passing record in the NFL. Obviously, I see this happening. They're playing in New Orleans, in a dome. The Saints are very, very rough to beat at New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, 95% of the time, unless it was a team that was walking in with a monster defense, I normally go Saints.
Yeah.
And this, like I said, the numbers for the Saints are crazy. These teams have only played each other the 3 times, and the last time they played was back in 2017.
Okay.
Then they played 2 years before that, and then 3 years before that. So these teams have not seen each other. The advantages I'm going to have right now with the way that these numbers stack, I'm going to go the New Orleans Saints. Breeze going to have a big game.
Oh, yeah.
Against a 3rd-ranked defense. This is where I see it going because, again, the Saints are very, very tough to beat in the dome.
Yeah. I think so, too. I mean, their defense isn't the greatest, but I think that Drew Brees is going to, if he can, I think he's going to beat the record regardless, but I think he wants to beat the record and win the game. You don't want to beat a record and then lose. That just kind of takes the whole fire out of everything. So I think he's going for a win. He's going to, he's going to put his best foot forward on this. And I agree with you. I think at the Superdome, Saints take it home. They end up 4-1 Sunday night.
By the way,
we could be wrong.
Well, I'm also going to be banking a little bit of extra money on Alvin Kamara, because now, back in the day when Breeze went to the Super Bowl and beat the Colts, he had weapons. Breeze now has weapons. They have a lot of great gadget plays as well. A lot of teams, unless they are the juggernauts of the NFL, the Ravens, the Raiders, the Pats, the Chiefs, a lot of great teams come off the bye real well. Washington, this early in the season, coming off of a bye in week 4.
I don't see him bouncing back that quick.
Not that great. So we both have the Saints on that one. For the bettors, Saints are laying 7, and the under-over is 51. So I see it as somewhat of a high-scoring game. Everybody keeps forgetting that Alex Smith is still in Washington. I really don't. I don't see him with tons of weapons. That's the problem.
I don't see him as tons of weapons, but he's not. And it's Alex Smith. I mean, he you know, I don't know, man. Like, that guy, he has his on days and his off days, and I'm not. If I was betting my money, my hard-earned money, I'm not putting it anywhere near Alex Smith.
Well, Alex Smith has burned me in the past. That's why I'm going against him too.
Oh, he's burned a whole city for years. So many people. So many of my friends' tears. I could jet ski on all those.
Believe it or not, we've actually had people in the chat who are agreeing with some of our picks, and they are patiently waiting to hear what my Thursday night pick is, but they're not going to hear the Thursday night pick until Tuesday night when we recap the games. So you're going to have to tune in and watch to find out what the 6-0 pick probably is going to be. And it's going to be a good game. It's going to be Philly and the Giants. So I know New York gets up for that, and I'll have to sit there and tolerate it because there's no Pats football on Sunday to talk about. But I'll be still sitting there watching about 10 games anyway.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'll be occupied at 3 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock your time. But other than that, that's all I plan on doing on Sunday. Football all day long. And we'll see, I guess. You have anything else, Rick?
Well, we do have I did say I was going to update a lot of people. Patriot Pipe Bomb did not go off last night. We kind of didn't have a full cast. So we rescheduled it to tomorrow, same time, 7:30 Eastern Standard, for everybody that gets a chance to watch. If not, it'll be posted on YouTube or Facebook later on in the night. We also have the big Khabib-McGregor fight tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to be an insane night. There's a lot of good matches on the main card. And, that's pretty much about it for that. I don't have anything else.
I'm sure that the Derek Relaford show will probably do a late night. Depends on how many mixed drinks I have, of course. But that never stopped us before.
No, it hasn't. So I was waiting for that. I was just so waiting for that. All right, so that's the week 5 pick'em.
And we will see you all.
We'll see you. We'll see you guys Tuesday for another episode of Archrivals Football.
All right, take care, everybody.
Well, I was not expecting to get an arch rival today, but here we are.
Come on, man.